Om Shanti to everyone. I'm very pleased to be with you in this month of January, as it's the month when we remember the founder of the Brahma Kumaris, Brahma Baba. He passed on in 1969, on the 18th of January 1969, and we say that he attained his angelic form at that time. And so we especially remember him on that day, have a day of meditation and deep reflection, but also throughout the month of January. And I came to the Brahma Kumaris in 1976, and that was when I first heard about Brahma Baba. And I thought, well, he must have been quite an amazing individual to have begun this work, the work from which so many have benefited all over the world. And as I began to hear about his life, I could understand why he had been chosen for that very special task of having God's versions be revealed through him. And actually he had his visions in 1936, that's when it all started. But even before that, he had very special qualities. And I remember hearing about his life. He was, first of all, brought up in a village, the son of a village schoolmaster, and then went into the diamond trade. But I remember hearing a story of how a couple of young boys, children of one of the people who worked for him in the shop, had stolen a few diamonds, and he got to know about it. And so he gradually coaxed the boys to bring the diamonds back. And instead of scolding them, he said to them, "Why did you want these diamonds?" They were very young. And they said, "Well, we wanted to buy sweets." So what did he do? He called the sweet seller and he said to the boys, "Tell me, what sweets do you want? We'll buy them for you." So instead of scolding, he was giving them the lesson with love that you don't need to steal to get what you need. With virtue, what you need will come to you. And then I've also heard from his diaries of 1932, when he's debating with his own mind about, "Mind, I want an appointment with you. I need to conquer you. I need to understand you." And so I began to get the feeling of this individual who had this such deep, deep spiritual search. And of course, when he had his visions, and it was a vision of Vishnu, he didn't say, "Oh, fantastic, now I've had a vision, that's it." No. It was a catalyst for an even deeper search within, to understand what was happening and to understand what it is that God wanted him to do on this earth. And then many know the story of how the community all started. But I could understand, and actually I'll just remind us of the 3 words that Brahma Baba left us with in his final class that evening of the 18th of January 1969, when he passed on. But these 3 words, he said, "Be incorporeal, be egoless, be viceless," which was actually the stage that he had attained. And when I think about his early days and the deep search that was going on inside, I think about how he was beginning to understand the incorporeal stage. In other words, deeply understanding that he is, as we all are, a spiritual being inhabiting the costume of the body, and he deeply practiced that soul consciousness with a lot of humility and attitude of learning. And there was a story that I heard that I find very inspiring of those early days when his elder brother came to see him. And of course, there was a lot of upheaval in the community because of what was happening and the satsang that had started, but of course I won't go into those details now. But his brother came and into his room, sat with him, and was very angry with him. And for 45 minutes he berated him, he shouted at him, and Brahma Baba just stayed very calm and quiet and silent. And after a while the brother calmed down and he went away. And I've actually heard this story from one of our elder sisters, who at the time was a young girl of 8 or 9. And a few of the little girls in the community were watching through the blinds and could see all this. And when Baba came out of his room, they went up to him and said, "Baba, Baba, why didn't you defend yourself? Why didn't you say something? He just shouted at you and you just sat there." And his answer was very lovely. He said, "Well, when somebody feels sick, they need to vomit it out. So he did what he had to do, and Baba did what Baba had to do." So he absolutely maintained his dignity, his self-respect. And he used the power of silence, but he was relating not to the person as my elder brother and everything else about the relationship, but in the consciousness of being an incorporeal soul, he was relating to the soul of his brother and to the highest in him. And so it was a completely different interaction, even though he didn't have to say a word. And I often remember that story. And yes, it happens to all of us that people insult us or say things that are not very pleasant. And I remember Brahma Baba's dignity at that time, that he knew what he had to do. And so he didn't engage with the negativity of the other person. He didn't condone it. He didn't condemn it. He just stayed in relationship with the soul. And that's been a big lesson for me in my life. And I know when I've been able to do that, it's just been extremely helpful for me to see the soul. I don't need to get into what's happening on the human level at that moment. And of course then something you can say to help the situation. And I think this is the other thing about Brahma Baba, and again an example that's helped me so much, that he would use love and understanding in any challenging situation. And also, in that incorporeal stage, it's possible to have that connection with God and to take power to deal with the negativity in front of you. And I remember a saying from our teachings, and I practice it. If there's a challenge in front of you, first, immediately take power from God. And another teaching I remember often, that there is no problem for which the soul itself doesn't have a solution. In other words, if I stay in that soul conscious stage of being an incorporeal soul, connected with the incorporeal divine one, I will understand very clearly what it is that I have to do, and I'll be able to work with love and understanding to help the situation. Another word Baba used, being egoless. Is it possible in today's world to be egoless? Baba achieved it. And Baba was always a student, all through his life until he left in his 90s. He never felt, oh, now I have enough knowledge, now I know everything, I can stop studying. No, not at all. Every single day he studied, actually every moment he studied, because he learnt at every step. And that always has given me the inspiration that this life is for learning. It's not for proving yourself or one-upmanship or anything like that. This life is for learning, for growing, and for serving. And this is the inspiration of Baba's life. And even though sometimes I've faced difficult situations, what's helped me has always been to stop and reflect and say, however difficult this situation seems to be, what am I learning from this? And once I identify that, I can begin to feel calm and regain my self-respect, because sometimes situations throw you off balance, of course. Baba, I don't think he went off balance. I will get off balance. And then I remember, what do I have to learn? And I can come back into that balance and dignity. And Baba's humility, that he would mix with everyone. He always said, I'm not a guru. There are no gurus here. I'm a student of God like all of you. And Baba never wanted anything grand for himself. In fact, he lived in the same room till the end of his days. And actually, that place where they came to in Mount Abu in the 1950s, it was actually originally a stable, so the walls were quite thin. It was very cold, and an elderly man may want a warmer place. There were new buildings being built, but Brahma Baba said, no, these are for the children, these are for the students who are going to come. And actually, you could think of it as renunciation, but it wasn't. It was actually an act of love and generosity. And lately I've come to understand how not only love but also generosity creates a feeling of safety, creates a feeling of abundance, and is able to remove fear. And so Baba did that. Baba knew how to use all the gifts he gained from God in a way that would give everybody safety and comfort and serve in an unlimited way. And that's been a great inspiration for me because, and also, of course, the generation that came with Brahma Baba, the elder sisters, we call them the daddies, they also follow that. It's been such an inspiration. And so the first thought is, what can I give? What can I do? How can I make this better? Rather than thinking about what do I need? And that gives the self a lot of strength and helps deepen our connection with God. So Baba's humility was a great inspiration. And viceless, gosh. You know, we talk about the 5 vices: greed, anger, lust or desire, attachment, ego. And Baba was able to move a long way from that. And, you know, when I think about these negative traits, and then, of course, there are other progeny of those negative traits, jealousy or comparisons. And, every one of those vices has a lot of tentacles in a way. And I think that what Brahma Baba did was to free himself of those negative traits that would bind him in any way. He attained true spiritual freedom so that he could reach his stage of perfection. He did not allow any one of those vices to suppress his original state and prevent him from reaching that angelic stage. Huge inspiration, because if you think about it, what does desire do? When you desire something, it takes away your dignity. I know for myself that if I really have a desire for something and then it comes to me, it doesn't feel quite comfortable, it doesn't feel quite clean. And I know that I've had to work through that a lot, because when on a spiritual journey, I think perhaps the biggest part for all of us is to really come into that state where we truly have self-respect of who we are as God's children. And so from time to time, I'd have desires, well, if I could do this, then maybe it would help me take another step. I would look to something external to help my spiritual progress. Maybe if I could go to such and such a place, maybe if I could do such and such a service, have such and such an opportunity, why are they getting it and why not me? All of those thoughts, that desire would make me very unhappy. And it was such a conundrum, because I'd want that, but if somebody gave it to me out of my desire, I didn't want it anymore. Baba's example of dignity, being free. And this is something that I have found so freeing, and something that one of our elder sisters said to me, Daddy Janki, many of you of course know her. She said, never worry. Whatever is your right will always come to you. And when I heard that mantra, I said, now my mind can be calm. Like Baba, what do I have to worry about or think about? Whatever opportunity is meant to come to me will come to me. Whatever has to happen will happen. But I just need to prepare my own state inside and be worthy of that. And things will happen naturally. And this has been a very big lesson and a blessing, I feel, in my life. So desire. Then greed. Actually, greed leads to corruption. Because you have greed for something, you find one way or another to get it. Baba never had any greed, actually. That's what I have heard. He never exhibited that at all. He was very free. His needs were little. His needs were met very simply. No greed for anything, so he was free. And I never like to look out for something. I want to stay free from that, and so I remember practicing at the beginning of my spiritual journey. And of course, I like my food. We all like our food. And when somebody would put a very nice plate of food in front of me, or I would get my plate, and we have this system that we would then just give spiritual vibrations, remember God, then eat the food. Then I'd say to myself, if somebody were to then take that plate of food away, I should feel exactly the same. No desire, no greed. Luckily, nobody ever did take the plate away. But, these are the things to become independent, not dependent on anything, to become free. So greed, attachment causes us a lot of sorrow. We have attachment to something, it goes away from us. We have sorrow, we have disappointment. So all of these negative traits we want to be free from. And Baba showed that it was possible to live free from that. A huge inspiration. If there's a human being who can do it on this earth, then surely I can try. I can move in that direction. And although I haven't met Brahma Baba physically, I really feel as if I know him and he knows me. I feel connected with his angelic presence. And so when I think about Brahma Baba's eyes, I feel his tremendous love, loving eyes. When I think about Brahma Baba's smile, I think about the feeling of belonging that gives me. Belonging to him, but importantly, belonging to God and belonging to humanity. And when I think about his presence, I feel so uplifted. And so this is the kind of thing that our world really, really needs right now. And so if in a small way we can begin to do all of these things together, then we are contributing to uplifting our world. So let us think deeply, contemplate on these things, and practice these things during the month of January and beyond. Thank you. Om Shanti.